Welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin. All right, so paid collection review for Dan. But first, Happy New Year. It's 2020. May the best of last year be the worst of this year. If you haven't already done it, be sure to subscribe. I've got a lot of interesting things coming in 2020. In a few days, I'm headed to Osaka. We'll do some watch shopping, see what kind of watches we can find in Osaka, Japan. I've also got a trip lined up for Cambodia. What kind of watches can we find in Cambodia? We'll subscribe and let's find out together. All right, Dan writes, as you can see by the pics, I'm into Rolex more than any other brand. I don't wear all of them, but most of them. More than anything, I would like your take on each watch if they will keep their current value in the near future or come down. I paid over retail on all three Daytonas and the Hulk. And he gives me the figures that he paid, but he doesn't want me to disclose that. The other watches I pretty much paid retail for. I would like to know if I should sell or keep them. As much as I like the watches, I don't want to lose money on them either. The Hublot Sarai I just picked up literally today and is limited to 100 pieces. Thanks in advance for doing the video. Thank you, Dan, and awesome pictures that you sent me. All right. Let me reiterate his questions, okay? He wrote them at the bottom. Let me know what I need to do and how much it would cost, all right? That's a very general question. What I can do is I can look at your collection from a few different perspectives and make suggestions about what you might want to do going forward. All right, and he also reiterates this part. More than anything, I would like your take on each watch if they will keep their current value in the near future or come down. So he's thinking value retention. Are his pieces going to go up, going to go down? Are they going to retain their value? So that's forefront on his mind, and we'll talk about that as well. All right, first let's look at his 11-piece collection, 8 Rolexes, 1 Breitling, and 2 Hublots. Let's quickly go through, and then we're going to come around and I'll talk about each watch in depth. And he's got a Rolex Datejust two-tone diamond dial. He's got a Rolex Daytona ceramic black dial, a Rolex Daytona ceramic white dial, a Submariner Hulk, a Rolex white gold Daytona on a rubber strap, a yellow gold Daytona with a green dial, a yellow gold Rolex Submariner Bluesy, a Rolex GMT Master 2 two-tone ceramic, and his non-Rolex pieces are a Breitling Super Ocean on a rubber strap with a black dial, a Hublot Titanium Blue Big Bang chronograph, and the Hublot Big Bang Chronograph Sarai limited edition that he just purchased. All right, so in this video, we'll concentrate on the Rolexes, and then I'll talk about his non-Rolexes in the next video. All right, let's start with the Rolex Datejust two-tone diamond dial. And just a guess, but I bet that this was Dan's first watch, first Rolex. And I say that because I have a hard time believing he would have gotten these hard-to-get professional models and then suddenly decide to get a relatively undesirable two-tone Datejust. You know, this is a watch you can pretty easily find at the AD, and if you can't, they'll be happy to order one for you. This is the kind of watch you get to get your foot in the door to get the real hot steel professional pieces like the Daytona GMT Sub, Sea Dweller, Explorer 2, Deep Sea. And for that reason, it's not going to hold its value. In fact, it's probably of his Rolexes the weakest in terms of value retention. But of course, value retention is not the only reason you get a watch. You just get it because you love it, right? That should be the primary reason. Now, as far as the watch itself goes, it's a black dial, fluted bezel, oyster bracelet. Now, I'm not much for two-tone watches, but if I were going to go two-tone, I'd probably go 36 millimeter. I think this is a 41 millimeter watch. And I would probably go with the Jubilee bracelet. I think two-tone on a Jubilee looks really good, and so that's probably what I would have opted for. As far as the square diamonds, the square diamonds sparkle, and that can look a bit effeminate. So that's why I prefer baguette diamonds. Now, baguette diamonds are like rectangular cubes. They don't sparkle. They look like pieces of glass. They're more masculine. They're quite beautiful. I'm not sure you can get them on a date just, but you can on day dates. So if you're looking to get a diamond dial Rolex, I would definitely go for the baguette diamonds. Again, as far as value retention, you know, it's a Rolex, so it's not going to tank. I mean, you can't get a wearable for a man Rolex for under $2,000. So this will always retain a decent amount of value, but if he tries to get out of it, he's gonna, you know, lose money. He's not gonna, you never make your money back from buying a two-tone date just, all right? All right, let's check out the Rolex Daytonas, all right? Ceramic, he's got a black dial, he's got a white dial, and he paid over retail for these Daytonas. Now, he paid quite a bit more for the white dial Daytona. A lot of people call that a panda. I wouldn't call it a panda unless the subdials are totally black. But he paid significantly more for that, which I think reflects the desirability of the white dial over the black dial. I like the white dial more. I think most people do. Now, he speaks of value retention, yet he paid over retail. Well, anybody concerned with value retention is not going to want to pay over retail. And I know what you're thinking, you know, to get these pieces, you have to. But the people that are paying over retail are minted and they don't care about price. They don't care about value retention. They just want the watch. 12,000, 20,000, who cares? Just give me that Daytona. Give me that object. I want it. They don't care about the future. They're minted, all right? They're not buying watches for investment purposes. But they just want the best and they want it now. And those are the people that should be paying over retail. If you're thinking about value retention, you shouldn't. So I'm not sure that that was a good move if you're thinking in terms of value retention. Hopefully you got these watches because you like them, but you know, can you get your investment out of these watches? Well, I have a feeling you probably couldn't. You could maybe perhaps break even. Now, a good way to gauge how much your watch is worth is to go to Chrono24, put in your watch, and then see the cheapest price pieces and the most expensive price pieces of your model, and you get sort of a theoretical value of your watch. But that's theoretical. It's not really in practice. If you need to cash out of these watches tomorrow, you're going to have to take less because you're a private seller on Chrono24 or on eBay or through the forums, and people are a little bit sketched by that. So if you have your watch priced at the same as the pieces on Chrono24, which are from brick and mortar shops, people are going to go that route. So to sweeten the deal, you're going to have to sell your pieces for less. And so knowing what you paid for these Daytonas, I would say that at the moment you could probably just about break even. But in the future, that's, you know, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen with these pieces. If you had paid retail, I'd say you're golden, you're fine. I mean, they're never going to go below retail. But if Rolex, for some reason, starts producing more of these watches, then the price is going to go down. Now, is that likely to happen? Well, if it was any other brand, I would say, you know, you pay too much. But Rolex is the one brand that doesn't care about money. They're much more interested in retaining the brand status of their watches. And so for them to start pumping out Daytonas in the future, I think is very unlikely. But still, to get what you paid over retail for these watches, I think, you know, you're not going to be able to go to a brick and mortar store and get your money back. They'll lowball you, I have a feeling. So that being the case, you know, again, if you're thinking of value retention, you know, you can't pay over retail. Okay. If you want to think about value retention, I'll tell you at the end of this video what I think is the best route. Okay, as far as the Hulk goes, he paid over retail. Again, you can get it on Chrono24 for less than you paid for it. All right, so again, it's a desirable model, and it's good that you got it. Now, a lot of people are talking about this model being discontinued, and if it is discontinued, then good buying. But until it is, it's questionable whether what you paid for it was wise, all right? Because it does seem to be decreasing slowly in price, and you can get it, again, for less on Chrono24 than what you paid for it. And because it's going down, I think that's all the more reason to believe that it might be discontinued. So at the end of the day, I would say maybe you did all right with this one, okay? Especially depending on what happens in the future. And if it's discontinued, you're good. But again, really avoid over retail, okay? Now, as far as the white gold Daytona on rubber, you know, that sells for about just under 29,000. You know, I looked at the prices here in Japan, and then I did the conversion, and so you can buy those on Chrono24 for about 31.5. So, you know, theoretically, you did well if you got that at retail. I think you said that you paid over retail for that. So, you know, again, you're kind of in the hole if you're trying to get out of this watch right now. And I think when it comes to value retention, I think it's the steel pieces that are a better option. There are two things that the steel pieces have. All right, so number one, they're cheaper and they're desirable. So that's why they sell at the AD so quickly, because the people that just have enough money, just enough money for those pieces, are going to go that route. Plus, they're desirable. The people that have the money for the real, you know, high-end pieces are still going to go for these pieces because they're desirable. So it's like, you know, not only are they cheaper and more able to be afforded by the regular guy, right? But they're also the best of the best, right? Everybody wants the steel pieces. So, you know, anytime you're looking at two-tone or solid gold pieces, I don't think that's a good move investment-wise at all. And you know, again, if you were to get out of this watch, I think you could at best break even, right? I think it would be worthy of a celebration to break even on what you paid for this watch. All right, and the same goes for the yellow gold green dial Daytona. Again, for what you bought for it, you can get it for thousands less on Chrono24 as we speak. Will it go up in the future? Yeah, I'd be really surprised if it did. And, you know, these pieces, these are gold pieces. You know, really the pieces that are easier to flip are sort of the 5,000 to, well, it used to be the 5,000 was sort of the magic number. Now it's tough to find any sort of steel sports Rolex for 5,000. So I'd say 5 to 10 because, you know, you've got can pay and will pay. And out of 100 people, the people that can pay can actually buy a $5,000 watch. It's probably 10% of the people at best. That's can, all right? Out of those 10 people, the ones that will, probably one person, maybe two. Other people are buying nice cars and jewelry and going on trips and spending their money in different ways. So that would be a $5,000 piece. Now, if you factor in you know, higher cost piece, a 30,000 USD piece, then your potential customer base shrinks and makes it harder to flip. So so as far as, you know, again, on paper value retention, well, you know, that's one thing, but actually turning these into cash is completely different, and that's going to be harder. As far as the bluesy goes, the bluesy sells for 35,000. You can buy them on Chrono24 for 27.5. So, you know, again, it's not working like an investment here. It's working like a typical piece of jewelry, or like most watches do. You're gonna lose money on that watch if you try to sell it. Now, your GMT two-tone, if you paid 14,400, that's retail. I believe they're selling for about $2,000 more right now. So again, theoretically, you did well, but to actually get an extra $2,000 out of a transaction, being just a lone dude on the internet, probably hard. I'd say at best you could break even. All right, so there you go, your Rolex watches. Now, let's just look at the Rolex collection sort of as a whole. Now, you have all modern pieces. I mean, you've got, out of your 8 Rolexes, 7 are ceramic pieces. And so this is, you know, when I look at this collection, this is basically what you would see if you went to an AD today and they had all the pieces that they were supposed to have. You would see this collection. And so for that reason, it is a little bit one-dimensional to me. I mean, this was a hard collection to get the money together for, and kudos to you for making that happen, but that's all this collection takes, just a big bankroll. Anybody could do it. It doesn't take much knowledge. It doesn't take what vintage and neo-vintage take, and that's a hunt and, you know, knowledge of the pieces and good buying, and I think that a vintage piece or a neo-vintage piece would give your collection a better dynamic and a more interesting dynamic than this. You know, stepping back and looking at all of these just totally modern contemporary pieces, I mean, unfortunately it seems to be that most, you know, people, not most, but many people these days, this is like the ideal collection. It's just like, you know, what do I get? Well, Rolex tells you exactly what to get. It's the pieces that they won't sell you. And so, you know, you get together a bunch of money and you go and you buy all those pieces you can't get there, and then you got a collection, instant collection, and again, it's I wouldn't go so far as to say it's boring. I mean, it's hard to do, and look, I mean, if you love modern pieces, that's just one thing, but I have a feeling there are a lot of people that realize financially collections like this and don't even really like the pieces. They're sort of just, you know, they really don't have a handle on what they like, and they're sort of like, well, you know, I mean, I got a bunch of money and everybody likes these pieces, and bam, they've got a collection like this. Now, I'm not saying you're like this, Dan, but it is a sort of a one-dimensional collection, and it could be a lot more interesting if you had some 5-digit neo-vintage pieces, if you had some vintage pieces in there. You would look like a real watch guy. I don't know that you look like a real watch guy. You know, I'm sure you don't care if you look like a watch guy or not, but just, you know, having a little depth to your collection might suit, all right? Now, you don't have a 3-hander, so I would consider either an Explorer. I think they're kind of boring, but a lot of people love them, and they do retain value more than an OP. That's what I would go for. I love the dial colors on the OP. Or you could have the best of both worlds. You could have the Z Blue, which is a Milgauss. It's beautiful. You got the green glass, the beautiful blue dial. You got the cool orange lettering. Some people hate it. Some people love it. It's probably going to retain value if you buy it retail. Not as much as, say, a BLRO or a BLNR, but you know, it's a pretty desirable piece. And that would give you your 3-hander, you know, or you could go neo-vintage, and that might be kind of nice, something like a no-date sub, or, you know, 36mm Explorer if you want to go the Explorer route. All right, so again, looking at your collection as a whole, you know, you talk of value retention. Look, knowing what you paid for these watches, I don't think you could get out of any of them making a profit at this point, all right? None of them. So I hope you like the pieces, because if you bought them just as investments, you know, I don't think you can get out of them for what you paid. And so in that sense, I think you're in the red right now. But, you know, how could you not be in the red? Well, neo-vintage 5 digits, all right? Steel pieces, again, you know, it's easier to sort of predict what's going to happen with these 5 digits because they don't make them anymore, and the market is a little bit more organic than some of the nonsense with this. And there are too many factors about, like, you know, what is Rolex going to do? What's the gray market going to do? What are they going to charge? But when it comes to 5-digit pieces, not only would it bring that depth to your collection, but those are the pieces that act like investments. Now, I get 5-digit steel sports pieces because I love the aesthetic. I love the watches, and I'd be getting those watches even if they performed like the worst Omegas, investment-wise. But the value retention is the icing on the cake, right? And, you know, maybe because they retain a little bit more value than your typical watch, it perhaps justifies having a few extras. In my mind, I think that's one of the reasons why I like them. But anyway, I really do like them. And, you know, you should have gotten in 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 15 years ago. I know all of us should have, but what can you do now? Well, you know, there's still pieces like the Explorer 2, no date subs that I think if you put your money in them in a couple of years, slowly, you know, they'll be worth more. Now, again, if you try to cash out, you have to factor in, you know, being a you know, private seller. But even my no date sub, I mean, I could sell it on eBay today for, say, a couple grand more, and people would snap it up. It'd be a great price because I bought it low. Anyway, my whole point here is that I don't think it's too late to get on the boat of these neo-vintage 5-digit pieces. So I think if you want like a sure bet, say, you know, in a decade, will I be able to keep having my 5,000 USD or 10,000 USD? I think it's the 5-digit pre-ceramic pieces. Okay. Let me know what you think, guys. Let Dan know what you think. Thanks for your, you know, your email, Dan, and stay tuned for part 2 when we talk about his non-Rolex pieces. Thanks for watching. Take care. See you next time.